Hi, this is Jeff White, Life and Living Now. I want to talk just a little bit, and in conversation before we're talking about the lower dantian, or the dantians, the three, the lower, the middle, and the upper, and have also alluded to it's very similar to the chakra system from Indian philosophy, some Ayurvedic philosophy. So you have these two. Now, they're both valid, and I consider them both to be correct. It is, for me, it's like quantum physics. How you look at something, the way that you look at something impacts and affects its presentation and how you perceive it. If I expect a particle, I see a particle. If I expect a wave, I see a wave. And so that's where we start looking at, well, how do we combine those two? How do the chakras correlate then with the three dantians, or do they? And in one sense, yes, they do. I think it's different ways of expressing much of the same thing. With the chakras in the Indian philosophy, you have 7 major chakras, energy centers. You have lots of minor ones, things that we would then call pressure points, and like the Laogun points and the palms. Those are also chakras, energy points. And so the body has a number of them all the way through. But with the Indian philosophy, there are 7 major. So you have 2 that are in the abdomen. You have 2 more that are in the middle dantian, and then you have 3 that would be in the upper dantian. So they do differ in their framework. They differ in some of their details, but there's some also overlap in their functions and the locations. So I just want to talk briefly about how they correlate. This is not an in-depth study. For the chakras, they have the root chakra and the sacral chakra. And the root chakra is down at the base of your spine, coccyx, and the sacral chakra is going to be about the location of the lower dantian. But the chakras are thought to exist along the spine, so that same area, but more back towards the spine. And all of that. Now, there are some schools of thought that include the sacral chakra, the solar plexus chakra, in with the lower dantian. I do not, because they both tend to speak to ego, and so I view that more as middle dantian. But it's that they align with physical vitality, with grounding and willpower, all that gets developed with the root chakra and the sacral chakra. Sacral chakra is also, kind of governs sexuality, vitality, etc. So the lower dantian, they share that connection with those chakras, since it does, govern those stability, foundational life forces, the physical vitality. The lower dantian can be thought, kind of encompassing all those centers. The middle dantian then is the heart chakra and the solar plex, and that governs emotional energy. It governs relationships. It governs part of how you process things in the world, and interactions with others. So more towards the ego mind, and so that would be for solar plex and with heart chakra. The throat chakra, I absolutely love. It speaks to truth, integrity, and we know that when we're looking at things in this plane that they live in, then using your voice and your words has great creative impact, and that thought, this chakra, aids in that. So with the upper dantian, the throat chakra relates to communication, the third eye into intuition, the crown chakra into spiritual connection. And so, that's all the upper dantian, and those align with those 3 chakras. So it kind of just gives you an idea for how they can correlate and work together, and really kind of speak to the same thing. They just come from different philosophical places. And I've always had the view that if you take the religions and the philosophies and you pull back far enough and you look and see where they all agree, you're going to know this is truth. Each of those philosophies and religions may have a certain insight into something. And now often we generalize that from farther than it needs to be, but if we pull back and we start seeing where there is truth and within the systems or things that agree within the various philosophical systems, I go, okay, I think everybody agrees this is truth. And I focus on those things. Is it simplistic? Yes. Does it give me peace? Yes. It becomes much deeper as well the more that you follow that. But I always caution, be careful of dogma. Be careful of too much explanation and not enough experience. Nothing wrong with study. I'm a voracious reader. I love to read. I love to study. I love to look things up. I love to research. But none of that takes the place of practice. None of that takes the place of experience. If you will meditate, if you meditate on these energy centers, if you meditate in the chakras, if you allow yourself to be and feel that energy, and your inner teacher, your inner voice will tell you everything you want to know. It will lead you. Now, we have to be careful that we are keeping our biases in check. We're keeping our personal thoughts, beliefs, things that we have to be aware of what we are processing in our emotions, in our mind, and be aware of, was this a social construct? Was this something we were taught? Did my religion tell me this? Or have I actually experienced this? Now, if they all align, that's fantastic. But if they don't align, then you're wondering, okay, where's the disconnect? Have I not gone down the road far enough? Could be. Or is this somebody's interpretation that might contain a lot of truth, but still might contain a little more cultural bias? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that we all get brought up, and that's how religions get started. And in the religions, as they spread across the world in their infancy, they also would take in qualities of the other religions as well because of our belief systems. It's how we process and understand the life that's around us. And in the meditation, what we want to be able to do is focus these, is to release our minds from these constructs. We release the minds from these teachings that perhaps we were taught, but to see what's real. And it's not we make those teachings invalid, or we're not trying to disprove them. It's nothing like that. It is just simply, I want to know what's real. And I do subscribe to the thought that whatever is impermanent is ultimately not real. What becomes real, as far as we can tell at this point, awareness and consciousness never changes. The state of awareness doesn't change. Contents of our awareness may change, but thoughts, they will change. They're not real in that sense. The reality is that we are consciousness, that we are awareness, that everything else comes out of that. So these systems, whether I'm doing chakra meditation, and I can take the same meditation and just focus on those energy centers, and I do, as part of my personal meditation. You can also get them all working, glowing, pulsing at the same time. And you just kind of build that into your awareness and build that into your meditation. So, both systems work to cultivate balance and harmony, but they do reflect certain cultural, philosophical contexts that they originate from, and that's fine. I can set all those aside, and I just know for convenience of terms, I may say lower dantian, I may say middle dantian, instead of specifically saying heart chakra or solar plexus chakra. I may say upper dantian when I'm meaning, obviously all three chakras instead of, or just one, but I'm just using this in context. So those become just fluid concepts, but they speak the same thing. Experience what those concepts are trying to illustrate. Okay? So if there's any particular aspect you'd like to dive into, then feel free to email me, LifeandLivingNow@gmail as well. So, as we kind of go through this and as you begin to do these meditations, know that consistent practice is key. The dantians, the chakras, they're all interconnected, okay? They're not standalone energy systems. It's all part of the systems and process of our being. And that's part of what we need to kind of look at. We are energy creatures. We are energy. We are spirit, and in this realm we have, energy bodies and physical bodies, etc. So the development in one aids in the development of the others. Okay, so strengthening the lower dantian builds a physical foundation that's needed for more emotional resilience, and for the middle dantian, more of spiritual clarity, and the upper dantian. Clarity in the upper dantian can lead to more emotional clarity, which can also at times maybe dissolve eating habits that were emotionally based, or feelings about ourselves and our self-concept. So they can all begin to work and help each other. So I think cultivating these three dantians and cultivating the experience of the chakras is vitally important, and has been important in my development for achieving that balance in body, mind, and spirit. So dedicate some time for this practice. And is it a lot? It can be, but it doesn't have to be. When I did a quick post about the different types of meditation, and you just kind of choose. The foundation is one-pointed awareness. And after that, I would say mindfulness. But then I've also used that one-pointed awareness that we developed, that ability to focus your intention, and then put it into the chakras, put it into the lower dantian, to the middle dantian, the upper dantian. See how it changes your energy level, changes your perspective over time, balances your emotional life and your mental life, and see what effects. I notice the more that I do it, there's changes in my diet that come natural. There's changes in what I choose to read. There's changes in the music that I listen to, what I feed into me, into my mind. Changes in thoughts. I become more aware of more negative thoughts. I become aware of things that are hindering me. I become more aware of weeds in my garden. And I want to then remove those weeds to allow the flourishing of spirit. And ultimately what this is you're harnessing mind and body to work with spirit. And spirit is who you are. So now you're learning how to use and adapt to and have these tools adapted to you. Whereas before, as we were born into this earth, as we built our conscious mind, we were already engaged in the ego mind. So there wasn't any separation. But part of our species is able at this level of evolutionary development is we can quiet our mind, and then we can feel, we begin to connect. And I hate to use that word, with ourself, because that indicates there's a separation between, that's ego mind speaking, what we really, because we view the spirit as separate, we are spirit. So our mind, this ego mind, is actually what it still exists within, but is separate from spirit. So you want to have the renewing of the mind. You want to, learn to train the mind to work in conjunction from your spirit. So that's a lot to work with, but very, very beneficial. So, and it's a life's journey. You have to know that. So thank you very much for your time. And, I welcome your comments, any of the chats. You can email me at lifeandlivingnow@gmail.com. And happy to respond as well. We do have an online Qigong course, not really course, but practice on Saturday mornings, 9 Central Time. So that'll be 10 Eastern. And then also Pacific and Mountain Time, I guess, would be 7. Saturday mornings. So for about an hour, and we run through Qigong set is designed for calming, balance, and centering. But never forget your meditative practice. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye-bye.